My name is Dustin Black, and as a part of Clemson Sports Media, we're going to be doing a film breakdown series of Garrett Riley's offense and what we saw at TCU last year. Today, we're breaking down the passing concepts. All right, so this was TCU in their semifinal game against Michigan last year. I thought this was a really big play in the game. TCU is currently up 3. It's 3rd and 7. Last thing you want to do is punt the ball to Michigan and give them a chance to take the lead. So here on 3rd down, what Garrett Riley's going to do is he's going to bring Quentin Johnson across the formation in a shallow crossing route. And now what he calls this when he talks about his offense is he calls this a blitz answer, right? So Michigan being a big 5-6 man pressure team in this game, he needs something for Duggan to get the ball out of his hands quick. And that's exactly what this route allows him to do. So if you watch this play unfold, Michigan brings 6-man pressure, and Quentin Johnson catches the ball behind the line of scrimmage with nothing but space. Okay, so this is getting your playmakers ball in space. This is what it looks like. So the other route concepts in this play kind of clear the space. You know, if you're going to get the ball in space, you got to create it first. So create space, attack space. It's all about spacing. And I thought this was a really big play in the game. It's just a really good way to be explosive in the pass game without throwing the ball 60 yards down the field, right? But what does it take? It takes good blocking by your wide receivers. If you watch this slot receiver, when Quentin Johnson catches it, he gets a good block in the middle of the field, takes that DB out. Now Quentin Johnson makes this DB look silly. The other wide receivers in the middle of the field blocking his guy, completely taking him out of the play. You won't see him until here. So he's got no chance of making this play on Quentin Johnson. So I thought this was a really good play design, really good blitz answer for 3rd and 7. You know, the big question for Clemson this year is, do they have a guy like Quentin Johnson that can make this play? Now, I tend to believe that they do. I think Bo Collins is a little bit better at yards after catch than people give him credit for. I do not think the last offense that Clemson ran really lent an opportunity for Bo Collins to showcase his skills with yards after catch, but I think he's going to be a really good guy in space. You know, I don't think he's as freaky athletic as Quentin Johnson was, but I don't think he necessarily has to be. I think he can be shifty. I think he can be fast, and I think he can erase angles in the open field, and I think we're going to see that. Now, this could be anybody running this route. You could have Antonio Williams running this route. You could have Adam Randall running this route. This may be a good route for Tyler Brown if he just wants to get some speed on the field. We just don't know yet. But I do think Clemson has the dudes that can make this play. We just haven't seen it yet. Okay. Another thing I want to go over with this play is when you look at Quentin Johnson and where he catches this ball, he's catching it behind the line of scrimmage. Now, one reason for that is that Garrett Riley liked to run mesh concepts off of this route a lot. So if you look pre-snap, that slot receiver would just run across the formation opposite way of Quentin Johnson. If Quentin Johnson, you know, had a man covering him and was running with him across the field, that slot receiver could mesh with that defender and basically take him out of the play. And the reason you can do that is because Quentin Johnson's catching this ball behind the line of scrimmage, which means you can't have offensive pass interference. It's just not in the rule book. Garrett Riley's talked about it before that anytime the flag's been thrown on that play, it's just been picked up because the refs realize that, you know, if the pass is caught behind the line of scrimmage, you can't have offensive pass interference. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit. I think it's a great little detail. You know, with anything, details separate people. So a little detail in the concept, a little detail in the play design can go a long way.
All right, so this is TCU in their semifinal game against Michigan again. This is a little bit earlier in the game. I talked about in the last clip about them running the shallow crossing route with a mesh concept attached to it. So I just kind of want to show you what that looks like. I also want to talk about the fact that TCU is now in their 11 personnel instead of the 10 personnel like they were in the last video. And that's basically just one tight end, one running back. So whenever they talked about in the spring how Will Shipley was talking about installation in the offense and they worked for like a week or two, and then Garrett Riley brought them to the side and basically said, hey, you've already learned 85% of the offense. Well, this is kind of what happens, right? There's a certain amount of concepts in this offense that Riley likes to run. He just does it in different formations, different sets. So Riley likes to look different all the time, but the plays that he runs off of those different looks are the same. It's the same concept that we saw in the last play. And I want to show you. So there you got Tay Barber running across the formation, run the shallow crossing route. You got the other slot receiver on the opposite side. He's going to be the one meshing with that man defender. So if you see that guy running with Tay Barber, it's going to be intentional, right? He's going right at that defender to try and free Tay Barber from him. Okay? Tay Barber's going to get the ball in space. Now look at this block. This is something that we missed with T. Higgins. T. Higgins was a really, really good perimeter blocker, and a lot of the reason why ETN and other players were allowed to be explosive in Clemson's offense was just blocks like this. So we need to see that this year for this offense to be effective. Tay Barber gets a touchdown. So it's a really simple play. It's Michigan bringing, I think it looks like 7-man pressure now that I'm looking at it. They were really blitz heavy, a really pressure defense, and it's just another little blitz answer. And then you also have the mesh concept to kind of free up Tay Barber from his defender. So I thought it was a really good play design with the look that Michigan was giving them, and obviously it results in a touchdown.
All right, so this is a screen concept TCU liked to use last year coming off a tempo. They're in their 10 personnel, so you got 2 wide receivers to the boundary side, you got 2 wide receivers to the field side, and a stack formation. And if you could see this alignment from the defense, it's kind of similar to what we said in the run video, is that they're really tipping their hand on what defense they're in, right? It's really easy to tell they're in man on this. So Garrett Riley really likes the look they're in. They have him in the personnel grouping they want, and he's going to run a tempo play off of this. So I want you to look at this. You see the wide receiver to the field side and the boundary side are doing the same exact thing, right? So this is actually a triple option play. Duggan can hand this ball off to the running back if he wants. He can go to the boundary side. He can go to the field side. He can go to any one of these options, whatever matchup he likes. Now, just for speed purposes, if you look at the side of the running backs on, you're kind of thinking he's going to throw to the boundary, which he does, just because he can release his ball quicker instead of flipping his hips to the field side. And this is another example of just a playmaker making a play. So this is Darius Davis who catches this ball, lightning quick dude. He erases the angle on the safety in the open field, and this is just another way to get your playmakers the ball in space. It's something that Garrett Riley preaches, and you see it a lot on film. So it's also a good block by Quentin Johnson. That's something that Bo Collins is definitely going to have to do this year. It's something that I'm really looking forward to with Adam Randall because I think he's really a physical receiver. I think he weighed in at around 224, 225, so he's a big body. It's going to be good for blocking in the perimeter. But this is something you're going to see off tempo. You actually saw it in the spring game. So whenever Cade was in the game, they ran this exact same concept off of a first down, off of a tempo play. So definitely something we're going to see, definitely something that was prevalent in the TCU offense, and something I think Clemson could be successful with. I think that the screen game has kind of been a hot topic for Clemson fans in recent years. But, like Dabo said, everyone runs screens. It's just procedurally, how do you get to it? So this is something that Kansas didn't really prepare for, something that Kansas didn't really see coming, and they weren't in a good look. So Garrett Riley exploited it, and he took advantage of it. And definitely going to see Clemson do this year. All right, so this is TCU in their first game against Kansas State. We got a pretty big situation here, right? So you got into the first half, down 18 points. It's 3rd and goal, right? Need a touchdown here. So this is coming out of a timeout. So this is either a play that Garrett Riley drew up in the huddle or something that they just really liked when they were going over their game plan. But either way, I thought this was a really good play call for the situation, and I thought it was executed pretty perfectly. Okay, so TCU's in their 12 personnel. They got 2 tight ends on the field. They got Duggan under center. Everything about that's an indication that this is going to be a run play. What else does Garrett Riley do this play? He sends Quentin Johnson across in jet motion. So all that is a little bit of eye candy, trying to test the eye discipline of the linebackers and the safeties, and it's effective. So if you watch Quentin Johnson come across, look at this defender that I've highlighted. So he's completely selling out to stop the run. I don't know if it's the jet motion he's biting on. It kind of looks like it. Maybe he's just betting on his instincts, thinking that it's a run play. Either way, it's completely taking him out of this play. And if you see once this play unfolds, Jared Wiley, the tight end who had his hand in the ground, is going to catch the ball right where that safety was, right where that space he vacated. So Jared Wiley's wide open, easy pass and catch. Okay, and that's something that we all want to see, right? We all want to see Brind'Amour get involved with the pass game, whether that's flexing him out as a wide receiver or whether it's coming up with creative plays like this to kind of get the defender's eyes away from him and kind of make him kind of sneaky guy that just leaks out of the formation and is wide open. So I think it's something you're going to see, especially the jet motion pre-snap. Garrett Riley loves to dress plays up like this, and I think it's really effective when he does it. Okay, one more thing I want to go over, and this was just a little tidbit that Garrett Riley went over with his coaching clinics, is the timing of this jet motion. So if you look at that, Quentin Johnston's had time to clear Duggan before he turns around to really hand the ball off. And that's important because, one, you want the jet motion to be effective, okay? But you also want him to have time to clear the backfield so that, this handoff or this play action isn't clunky at all. Everything has a timing and a rhythm to it. And this just comes with repetition. So they've repped this play a lot. They understand the nuance and the timing of it. And, the jet motion's still effective, but he doesn't, affect the quarterback with making him hesitate. And this play could go really sideways if you're not doing it correctly. And if you look at Duggan's head. So Duggan's head is actually looking at Quentin Johnston, still looking at Quentin Johnston. Now he faces forward. So now it's just kind of a timing thing, whether that's a 1,000, 1,000, something. Some sort of timing thing that they've come up with to make sure that Quentin Johnston's cleared the backfield and that, this play isn't clunky. So I just thought that was an interesting little tidbit and how he coaches this play and what they emphasize when they rep it. All right, so this is a really good example of Garrett Riley using pre-snap motion to confuse defenses. So basically what he's going to do is he's going to send Tay Barber back to the line of scrimmage in motion. And if you watch the defenders are actually going to switch responsibilities before this ball is snapped. And neither one of them are going to be in a position to make a play on the ball once Duggan throws it. So Duggan motions, Tay Barber comes back to the line of scrimmage, and he's right back outside. Duggan throws a sidearm pass. Tay Barber catches it, and he's in the end zone. So it's a really easy play. It's a great goal line situation, Kansas State's got a lot of heavy personnel on there, probably only have 2-3 defensive backs. So you're really exploiting this matchup here, getting a smaller DB on Savion Williams, and then Tay Barber is just quick enough to make the play without, the guy being able to make a play. And if you watched Super Bowl last year, this play should look really familiar. Andy Reid, one of the best play callers in the NFL, he used this concept twice in the Super Bowl, the second half against the Eagles. First time, Kadarius Toney wide open. Second time, Sky Moore wide open. And it's the same thing he saw with the Eagles. The Eagles are running a lot of man coverage. So what you do is you use that pre-snap motion to make them switch responsibilities. And then the guy that switches off is in no position to make a play. And he ends up wide open. It's easy pass, easy catch, and you get a touchdown off of it. So this is the fun stuff. This is where you see Garrett Riley kind of getting creative and kind of being innovative. Everyone talks about Clemson's offense needs to evolve. Well, if this play and this concept is good enough for Andy Reid, I think it's good enough for me, and I think it's good enough for Dabo and this Clemson offense. All right, so this is TCU and their game against Texas. This was kind of a rough night for TCU's offense. They didn't really have a lot go well. They didn't have really stuff fall their way. So this is 10-3 in the fourth quarter. They haven't really put up a bunch of points. But I want to show you one feature of the Garrett Riley offense, and particularly in passing concepts, is that a lot of times the quarterback's only making a half-field read. So Cade Klubnik's not going to have to go through, 1, 2, 3 progressions, stuff like that. He's really just reading this side of the field. So what that allows you to do is it allows you to read the DB's eyes. It allows you to read leverage that the cornerbacks are in and not really have to worry about scanning the field as much as you had to in the last offense. So what you're going to see here is the DB over top Quentin Johnston is going to release out a press. It's going to kind of give a little bit of a cushion. This safety is going to make a bad decision, and Quentin Johnston is going to be running free. So this is something that you see on film a lot with TCU last year. There's a lot of wide receivers running free and DBs making bad decisions. You can insert whatever Big 12 defense joke or whatever Texas joke you want here, but this was pretty much week in and week out you saw wide receivers running free. So whatever it is, Garrett Riley playing chess throughout the game, Garrett Riley really doing a good job of disguising his concepts. You saw a lot of wide receivers running free, catching touchdowns. And when's the last time we saw that with Clemson? It's been a little bit, okay? So something I'm really excited to see is how the scheme, allows these wide receivers to get open and, how many touchdowns we score that look like this, where there's no one within 10, 15 yards of our wide receivers because our offensive coordinator is drawing up a good play.